Part C for the good and evil section. So explain for me the Catholic Christianity and Judaism, or two Christian traditions, attitudes about the use of sculpture and statues in worship. So I need either a Catholic or Jewish or Catholic and other Christian view on sculptures and statues. Now, we have specifically looked at a statue within this topic, which is La Pieta. So it would be a very good idea to use that within this question, and that would go into the Catholic side because that is within the Vatican City. The other side, you can use Jewish or other Christian because their views will be the same on the use of statues. So whichever one you're going to use is going to be the same sorts of quotes. So I will choose Judaism just to show you what it is, but we could swap out the Christian with the Jewish views there. There might be a couple of things where it might need tweaking a little bit more, but apart from that, it's basically the same idea. So their views on statues. Catholic Christianity use statues in worship. Jewish and other Christian do not. That is our basic principle for this question. So I'm going to start with the Catholic paragraph, as that is the one that is going to be in either option. So Catholics use statues and sculptures in their worship. These can be found in churches and at other important sites, such as places of pilgrimage. For example, stations of the cross, statues in Lourdes. Statues are used by Catholics in worship, but are not worshipped. This is where the mistake commonly comes in. Catholics do not worship statues. They use them within their worship, but they do not worship the statue itself. So, we need to explain this a little bit more. They are used to help Catholics remember a certain person, usually a saint, and their actions, or it can remind them of an event, and this is where we bring in the La Pieta, such as La Pieta by Michelangelo. This is the moment when Mary holds her son in her arms after his body is taken down from the cross. Mary herself is not upset but serene within this statue. It helps Catholics who are going through suffering to ask for Mary's help during this time. It also reminds them of Jesus' sacrifice for them. And how they should then act going forward in their own life. Statues are therefore a source of comfort and focus for Catholic prayer within the Catholic Church. So, I have said what they are. I've said where I could find them. I've given examples of what they are. I've said how they are used with specific example of Mary and how that can be used with suffering, with a specific example from the Pieta within that, both Mary and Jesus, and how it's a source of comfort and focus within Catholic prayer. So if I go back to this question, attitudes about the use of sculpture and statues in worship. These are the attitudes towards them. They are needed for focus, for comfort, for all of these things to help Catholics with their worship. Again, they are not worshipping the statue, it is helping them to focus on their own individual prayer. This will help them on their with their own individual prayer, with the communion of saints, and with the Trinity. So if you remember, the communion of saints is the Catholic tradition that anyone who is a saint is in heaven, and so we can communicate with them. Again, we are not worshipping the saints, we are asking them for help in the same way that we'd ask for someone who's living. Because if someone is in heaven, they can hear us, they can help us the same as our friend can if we pick up the phone and we ring them. But you can't pick up the phone and ring someone in heaven. The only way to communicate with someone in heaven is prayer. So for that reason, we pray to saints. However, that is not worship. Worship comes for God alone with Jesus and the Trinity. That is our focus and the attitude on statues for the Catholics. Then we move on to the other side, so Jewish or the Christian, who are going to be against the use of statues. So I'm going to use Judaism. Jewish attitudes towards statues is very different to the Catholic view. They believe that to use statues in worship will be breaking the 10 Commandments found in Exodus. Do not worship false idols. Exodus 20. So this is one of the 4 of the 10 Commandments that is directly related to God. By worshipping false idols, we are breaking the 10 Commandments. Using statues within worship would be classed as idol worship, as the only focus should be on God and not a physical representation of a person or God on earth. Now, everything I have said there can be used as a other Christian viewpoint as well. The only thing I'm going to be changing is, I haven't mentioned the Torah, so that's fine. So while I've talked about breaking the 10 Commandments, I could specifically mention the Torah there, or the Bible if I was talking about other Christians, but I've not actually mentioned the Torah, so that's fine. Exodus 20 is Bible and Torah, so I could leave it as that. I just swap out Jewish attitudes for other Christian views. Now I'm going to specifically talk about the synagogue, so this is a bit that the other Christian view obviously won't include. Within a synagogue, there will be no statues of people or any representation of God within a statue form. This is because God is not a human. And whilst we are Imago Dei, we cannot put God into that human form, as this would be disrespectful. It would also be limiting God, which Jewish people would not allow. Therefore, no statues would be allowed for any Jewish worship. I have my attitudes, I have my 10 Commandments, I have my quote, I have the fact that nothing in the synagogue will have a statue of people or representation of statue form. There will be no statue used within worship. That, therefore, would be my 8-mark question. That would be my part C.